good afternoon. This is the Policy Committee meeting for March 7th, 2023. And I am Board Member Paul Sandholm, along with Board Member Amber Sadowski, Assistant Superintendent Anthony Bonds, and Superintendent John Meggs. Agenda items, we have no policies for first reading, so we'll move right to, bless you.
Thank you.
Our second reading on student disability and non-discrimination, and that is, up here. Is that policy 521?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And I will turn that over to Mr. Bonds, Assistant Superintendent Bonds, if we have any new changes there. I don't think we do.
No, not any new changes after, since the first reading. During the first reading, there were requested changes, and those changes were added, and they can be located in the regular school board meeting, and in red, denoted in red inside of the regular school board meeting. Right now, what is being presented does not have the red strikeouts in it, as it is the policy that we are moving forward in its clean version at this point in time. If additional modifications are desired, we will update the current one to reflect that and make sure that those adjustments are made before complete adoption at the board meeting at the end of the month. So any changes that should be noted for consideration for next time?
None for next time. I just know in section 3 we updated your name, right?
That's correct.
And then going forward, when we move into our new facility at that time, that's when we'll probably take off the name and just have the title and the new address. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think for some we have to have the actual name,
Okay.
but just as an interesting note, our new address will be 709 Portia Drive, which is kind of nice.
Nice.
I guess I just want to back up here. So this student disability non-discrimination, just to read the purpose of this policy. The purpose of this policy is to protect students with disabilities from discrimination on the basis of disability and to identify and evaluate learners who, within the intent of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, need services, accommodation, or programs in order that such learners may receive a free, appropriate public education. And again, this policy is up for second reading, which means then at our board meeting later on this month, we would hopefully move forward this update on policy 521.
For adoption. Yes, sir.
I don't have anything else.
No, I don't either.
And Member Lockwood Kemp didn't send us anything in concern, so I think we can move forward then.
Excellent.
Thank you. Our second policy, the next policy for a second reading is the policy 541, gender inclusion. And I guess I'll just read again the statement of support. That's part of this policy. The students and staff of Duluth Public Schools deserve respectful and inclusive learning environments that value students' gender identity and gender expression. Duluth Public Schools ensures that all students have access to programming and facilities in which they feel comfortable, supported, and safe. This policy addresses the inequities some students, including intersex, transgender, two-spirited, gender non-conforming students, and gender questioning students confront as they navigate a system designed using a gender binary model. These guidelines do not and cannot anticipate every situation that may occur, as every student is unique. The support for each student must be assessed and addressed individually based upon the student's specific requests and needs. So this has started as a model policy again, coming from MSBA, correct?
Correct.
And this is for a second reading, and we did make some changes. Member Sadowski, did you have something to add there?
Well, I'm gonna kind of bounce it back and forth. I'm trying to figure out how to open up both of them, but in section 3, and I go back to the new one too. I know that we added guardian instead of just parent, which is good. Hold on one second.
Did we just get that in the email, the other copy?
Yeah, well, it's on board book, but I'm trying to toggle between both of them here. So in section 3, the second paragraph, at the request of a transgender or gender non-conforming student in all grades, the district will use the student's preferred name, gender identity, and preferred pronouns when referring to the student in education records. At the request of the parent/guardian of a transgender and or gender non-conforming student in any grade, the district will use the student's preferred name, gender identity, preferred pronouns. It just seems like we could combine those by saying, at the request of a transgender or gender non-conforming student and or parents. Because the rest of the paragraph is exactly the same. Just wanted to open that up for thoughts. Seems a little redundant, but maybe there's a reason to have them both.
Just the highlighted section there.
I actually switched back to the other one because
I'm looking at the highlighted one, so the other one doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I don't see any distinction in that, and it looked like it could become a combined sentence that captures the essence. It looks good. I agree, I think there's no difference. I think, I would imagine that they just want to make it very clear that the student has the ability to do so, and so does the parents, but it can be a combined sentence if we think that is, if that is more, if that's preferred.
I just wanted to bring it up, but I'm fine keeping it too. Don't have strong feelings either way. Maybe remember some home superintendent.
I think combining it, just probably former English teacher, might as well make it as concise as possible too, so.
Unless you are with a coach, teacher, or advisor. Again, all students who are waiting for a ride need to head out of the hallways, out of the commons, and into the foyer area to wait for your ride. Have a good day, everyone. Remember that the building is now closed for.
I don't know, I think whatever you think might be best. I don't know, trying to find the two different versions, and I've got the highlighted version in front of me right now. So that would remove the highlights, or this is the.
Yeah, the one that you are seeing right now, the highlights are not in there. Those corrections from the first reading have been made. Member Sadowski is introducing 2 additional modifications to the policy, or suggestions for the policy.
It might
So how
help
would it-
if
how
you
would it
look
read?
at, so here's the current section 3, the second paragraph. This is how it's currently written with the revisions.
Parents that's starting their training for your hand, or that's insane. That's what we have here, then, isn't it? Isn't that the same as this one?
Let's see.
This one doesn't have highlights.
You're right, this one has the highlights, so we added guardian last time. And I was suggesting maybe combining the sentence since they're both saying the same thing. So you could say, at the request of a transgender or gender non-conforming student and or their parents.
And or their parent / guardian.
/ guardians. Fine if we don't as well, but I just noticed they're saying the exact same thing.
Correct. We will make a adjustment for the final reading.
Sounds good. And then if there's feedback too from staff who've worked on this.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Any other suggestions for modifications for the second?
No, but I do think that, I guess one of the bigger issues as we move forward with this is the plan for staff training and how we're going to implement and or move forward with that. Is there anything you can share with us on staff development and or processes for educating our staff across the district?
Well, in short order, if this policy is adopted by the board at the end of the month, the administrative team will pull together and thoroughly review the policy to make sure that we identify places where professional development is going to be needed for our staff. And we're talking not only our teachers, but our custodians, our nutrition staff, our parents, as well as what communication we would need to provide to our community and students as a whole. So we recognize that if adopted again, there will be a need for professional development, and there will be a need for transparency and communication with our entire community. And we will be working on those things in short order, if adopted.
We also had, I think it was an hour plus training in our November professional learning time, focused on gender identity, partly because of the statute coming out. So it was kind of laid some good foundational pieces for our staff. So I think that we've got some groundwork laid, but I think it is important to make sure that we have follow-up. And then I think also thinking about how are we going to bring a lot of this is, or some of this is vision of what we plan to get to, but it's not going to be possible to completely snap our fingers and get there with things like restroom facilities and things like that. We're making progress. I also spoke with Representative Kozlowski today, who has authored a bill for special funding for school districts for changing the bathrooms over to make them more inclusive, and they've asked me and potentially some students and others to come testify on March 23rd. So I think it would be good for the school district to represent there and then seek that funding when it becomes available.
Absolutely, and I think there are some districts out there that we could look at too for just maybe not a model since it's another school district and not MSDBA, but there's procedures out there for implementing some of these things that other districts have done. So we could look at that for reference.
Agreed.
Yes.
And I do want to provide one point of clarification. You stated that a model policy from MSBA, they don't have a model policy. However, they provided a policies that the school districts could use if they so choose to move forward with adopting a policy. So they themselves did not provide a model policy. They provided a policy that districts could use if the district elected to move forward with one. So I want to provide that distinction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do think, as Member Sadowski suggested too, that having communications with those districts that have moved forward with a policy on gender inclusion, we can learn a lot from the communication with the types of training they offered and maybe some of the, again, just the stumbling blocks that you just don't see, but they're there. And so a number of districts in the metro area, again, are ahead of us on this, and hopefully we can learn from their experience and the learning curve that they've gone through. So again, it's seeking out those administrators and again, having those conversations.
I agree.
Thank you.
And I know we always do this in our policies, or we normally do, but I appreciate that we have the part in the beginning under the statement of support that these guidelines are supported by other district policies, such as the equal education opportunity, prohibiting harassment and violence, bullying, Title IX and hazing. So just wanted to point that out.
And public education is for all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have anything else.
I do not, I don't think so. Just thanks to our staff for their hard work on this and for making those changes that we had made last month.
Thank you. And moving forward, we will make sure that we have, at every point, a copy of the original and edited red line version as part of the presentations moving forward.
Yeah, I found that helpful. I do have my notes and so compare that. Thank you.
We'll make sure we have both moving forward.
Okay, next up, regulations, informational. Is there something to share there?
I will share that one of the things that we will be moving forward in April is a policy related to medication, and specifically Narcan, administration of Narcan if needed for an individual who overdoses or potentially overdoses in our facilities. And so we are moving forward in April with a policy that has been adopted by the MSBA as a model policy. Our staff is going to be reviewing that policy over the next month, and it will be presented to the policy committee in April. So I want to make the community and board aware of that.
Okay, so that would be a first reading in April.
That will be the first reading in April, that's correct.
Also, I saw today with Cabinet, there was some conversation, basically a listing of all the policies that are incorporated into the student handbook. And I know we're addressing the 500 series and related student series policies. And so I think that taking a look between now and the next month as we set our policy meeting to determine which of those need to be updated prior to the printing of the handbook, so we can address them in April, May, and June to get them in the handbook for next year.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. Any other first readings for next month that we are looking forward to?
Not that we have identified, but again, we will be identifying several for first reading before the policy agenda study.
Okay. All right. Anything else, members of us?
No, I'm just really glad to hear that we're going to be putting forth for first reading the opioid overdose policy.
And that was also something that we began research on and had intention of moving forward prior to some of the meetings that were, some of the public meetings that were addressing that earlier or later last week. This is something we've been working on for the past month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we're being responsive, but we were already doing some of the work we prepared to.
We wish we didn't live in a world where it was needed, but that's the world we live in, and so it's good to be safe and make sure that we're there for people if they need it.
What I'm hearing from some of our ANSD districts that have put policies in place already is that there's kind of high level of concern when you first start talking about administration of it, but when it comes down to it, you can't accidentally injure somebody by giving them the medication. So you're always better, when in doubt, give the Narcan.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that nursing staff and administration are becoming a lot more comfortable with it once they learn some of the specifics around it. So
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I've had staff who weren't trained in it and then were trained in it, just total eye-opening experience and just feeling a lot more self-assured on how to handle such a situation too. So.
Okay, anything else? All right.
Thank you.
I adjourn.